People in Colorado are coming together for what is sure to be a long healing process in the wake of a deadly shooting at a movie theater. President Obama arrived today to meet with the victims' families as investigators continue to build their case against the suspected shooter.
I'm Marcella Lee, live in Aurora, Colorado, where President Obama is meeting right now as we speak with those victims. Plus, we'll have the latest on the investigation next.
I'm live at the Penasquitos Lutheran Church, where a longtime family pastor talks about the accused killer's past, including the family he grew up with. I'm Alicia Coates. I'll have that in a live report coming up.
Keep it right here. News 8 at 5 starts in just a moment.
You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader. This is News 8 at 5.
I can't imagine what it would be like to get out of bed in the morning and plan something like that, and just to have that darkness to just want to hurt people like that.
The search for answers continues into what would possess 24-year-old James Holmes to open fire at a crowded Colorado movie theater, killing 12 people. Today has been a day of healing in Aurora as the community tries to make sense of it all. Hello, everyone. We have team coverage for you tonight. My co-anchor Marcella Lee is on assignment in Aurora, and she joins us now live with the very latest, including a visit from President Obama. Marcella?
Phil, it is certainly not the reason any community wishes for the president to pay them a visit, but Air Force One touched down just about 2 hours ago, the president here to meet with the victims. President Obama arrived at Buckley Air Force Base on a brief visit to console grieving families left devastated by Friday's mass shooting in the town's crowded movie theater. The president is meeting privately with relatives of the victims to offer comfort and prayers. Earlier in the day, services at Aurora's Colorado Community Church were solely dedicated to the shooting massacre that has shaken the nation. One of the church members, 51-year-old Gordon Cowden, was killed in Friday's attack.
This is a good community. People love each other. It's just a tragic thing that's happened.
The congregation also prayed for the accused gunman, 24-year-old James Holmes.
James Holmes has a mother and a father, and they are carrying a very big burden, so we forgive him too.
Across from the crime scene, Greg Zanis of Illinois placed 12 crosses, one for each of the victims who died. He did the same thing after the 1999 Columbine shootings.
It's just so hard to be back here again. I mean, this is the second time. So.
Authorities want to know how he got the materials he used in the shooting and in his apartment. They are investigating dozens of deliveries to his home and school over a 4-month period.
We're building a case to show that this was a deliberative process by a very intelligent man who wanted to do this.
We are also learning that Holmes applied to join a gun club, a Colorado range, but his application was rejected last month when the owner was put off by a message Holmes left on his answering machine. Holmes is expected to make his first court appearance tomorrow morning. Investigators want to make sure they have documented and collected all of the evidence out of Holmes' apartment, and so the people who live in that building have still not been allowed back in. They will have to spend at least one more night somewhere else. Today, one of Holmes' neighbors said that he saw Holmes just the day before the shooting. Even though he didn't know Holmes, he said he took note of the man because he appeared to be deep in thought.
Just the day before he did that, I see him Thursday morning when I was parked right there. And warming up my car, he came out smoking a cigarette and looking down like something was on his mind. And he walked towards the parking lot, looking down, puffing a cigarette. That was the first time I ever even seen it.
I also had an opportunity to speak to a shooting victim who has family in San Diego. 17-year-old Zach Goldich is in good spirits. He is still bandaged. We have photos of his fresh wounds that we did blur a little bit for you. He tells me he had no idea what was happening when the shooting started.
I knew something bad was happening. I just didn't know if there was a shooter. You know, so when I ran out the theater, I was just trying to get away.
17-year-old Zach Goldich ran for his life in the chaos, his neck covered in blood. His mother took these photos of his wounds, showing where the bullet entered just below his left ear, split, then came out in 2 areas in his neck below his hairline.
As far as I knew, it was firecrackers. I thought I got hit, but then when I finally got to the hospital, they told me I had been shot. It came through the wall and hit me.
Zach was in the theater next door to the one where the gunman opened fire during the Batman movie premiere early Friday morning. Zach says after he was safely outside, a construction worker helped make sure he didn't lose too much blood.
He said he was an Army doctor for 10 plus years. So that was really helpful.
Right before we interviewed Zach, he was on the phone with his aunt and uncle who live in San Diego.
They're just like, hey, we're glad you're okay.
5 years ago, it was Zach who worried about them when the raging 2007 wildfires destroyed their home in Rancho Bernardo.
He lost his house, in that huge fire, so if they're watching, hey, what's up, but...
Zach trying to stay positive and upbeat, and trying not to think too much about his close call with death.
I'm getting messages, it's like, hey, you're in our thoughts and prayers and hope you're getting well. And, that's why I think me being calm is keeping everyone else calm.
Zach says he loves San Diego, especially the zoo. He has been back there to see his aunt and uncle's new house, and again, he wants you to know, I think you're watching, that he is doing okay. Coming up for you new at 5:30, we will have much more on the many vigils taking place around Aurora, including one that is scheduled to start in about 30 minutes. Phil?
All right, Marcella, great job out there, and of course, we'll be checking in with you throughout this newscast and again at 6:30 tonight. We'll see you then. An online business confirms it sold gear to shooting suspect James Holmes. The retailer, known as Cat5 Commerce or TacticalGear.com, is based near St. Louis, Missouri. The staff found receipts proving that Holmes made 4 purchases on July 2nd for close to $300 with expedited 2-day shipping. The store's owner says he and his workers are appalled at the news.
Staff is all saddened and outraged, and I think a lot of people are at a loss for words to kind of crystallize how they feel about such a senseless tragedy.
Meantime, a gun range owner in Colorado says James Holmes applied to join that club last month, but he was rejected because of his behavior and a bizarre message that was on his voicemail. As the nation tries to make sense of why alleged shooter James Holmes opened fire on a movie theater full of people, a local psychiatrist is weighing in on what may have triggered his behavior.
By and large, a person who doesn't have a vulnerability already, if not already an illness, isn't going to suddenly become totally irrational.
Dr. David Reese says without knowing somebody's psychological history, it is very difficult to find out what may have sparked a violent episode. A day and a half after the deadliest massacre in U.S. history, people are asking the question, who James Holmes is. News 8's Alicia Coates talked to a pastor who's known the Holmes family for more than a decade. She is live tonight in Rancho Penasquitos with an inside look at James Holmes' past and what the church is doing to remember the victims. Alicia.
That's right, Phil. I spoke with the senior pastor here at the Penasquitos Lutheran Church. He says he's known the accused killer and his family for the past 10 years. He says the last time he saw James Holmes was a couple of years ago when he was home visiting from UC Riverside over the holidays. He tells us about James Holmes's past and the family he grew up with.
It's just so absurd and so out of character from my understanding of this young man and the way he lived his life. And he had some goals.
Senior pastor at Penasquitos Lutheran Church, Jerry Borgi, is one of the few people who watched accused mass killer James Holmes grow up. He says James would attend church with his mother, father, and younger sister. They appeared to be an all-American family.
He was a little bit on the quiet side. In one-on-one conversation, it was obvious he was an intelligent young man, and he had some goals. He was going to be professional.
It seemed Holmes was on a path to be a professional. He graduated with high honors with a Bachelor of Science degree in neuroscience from UC Riverside. He was raised in a math and science household. His mother, Arlene, a registered nurse, was active in church.
His mother's a spiritual leader in the family.
His father, Robert, is a mathematician, and his younger sister, Chris, loves music.
She's a musician. At least she enjoys music. A little bit on the quiet side, I would think, too.
Inside the church Sunday, the congregation pinned up a large sheet of paper where church members could write prayers for the Holmes family and to the victims in Colorado.
Letting them know that we're praying for them and thinking of them, and that we hope that they do find comfort and peace.
Borgi plans to meet with Arlene Holmes, who he says is still in San Diego, to help her cope with the tragedy surrounding her son.
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is probably share some tears. I think that's what we're going to do, because I don't know there's anything that can be said at this point.
Well, the pastor who led today's worship ended with a prayer for the Holmes family and for the victims in Colorado. Coming up new for you tonight at 6:30, we speak with him, and he tells us why the Holmes family is so loved out here. Back to you in studio, Phil.
Alicia, a couple of questions. Was there a large congregation present today, and what are church members saying about all of this?
Phil, there were about a few dozen people at the worship today, and many of them did not want to go on camera, but they did say that large sheet of paper with all the prayers written on it will be delivered to the Holmes family at some point. There will also be a prayer vigil here, but the details surrounding that and when it will happen is still being worked out, so we'll keep you posted.
Alicia Coates reporting live for us tonight. Thank you very much for that, Alicia. Well, Denver Broncos quarterback Peyton Manning has been calling shooting victims in the hospital to try to lift their spirits. A spokeswoman for the Aurora Medical Center says Manning spoke one-on-one by phone Saturday afternoon with several of the patients that were brought there after the shooting. The four-time MVP signed with the Broncos this year after missing the 2011 season because of injury. And the Aurora community is also coming together tonight to pray for the victims of the shooting. A vigil will start at 5:30. Colorado's Governor John Hickenlooper will participate in that vigil, along with other elected officials. Our Marcella Lee is there. She'll have more on it from Aurora coming up in our second half hour. Well, please stay with us as we continue to follow the movie theater massacre in Colorado. We'll check back with Marcella live in Aurora with continuing coverage starting at 5:30, and we'll have more news for you coming up in just a moment.
News 8, presented in HD, is brought to you by King Stallman Bail Bonds. You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader. Marcella Lee, Phil Blauer, meteorologist John Stiles, and sports with John Howard. This is News 8 at 5.
We're still waiting tonight to find out the name of the 49-year-old Escondido woman who was killed in a Saturday night motorcycle crash in the North County. Her fiancé, the bike's driver, suffered major injuries.
We still don't know, what caused it or what led to the crash.
CHP officers say the pair were heading northbound in the 1800 block of Via de Fortuna near El Camino del Norte just before 10:30 Saturday night in Rancho Santa Fe. Suddenly, the man driving the three-wheeled 2009 Harley-Davidson motorcycle, 58-year-old William Jimenez of Escondido, lost control of the bike. His unidentified 49-year-old female passenger had no time to react.
For whatever reason, they veered off of the roadway, crashing through a fence near the area, and one of the residents heard the commotion of the motorcycle going through the fence line, came out to see what was happening.
The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. Her body was trapped underneath the crumpled motorcycle. Jimenez was rushed to Scripps La Jolla Hospital for treatment of his injuries.
And we don't know what sort of injuries that he has at this time, whether or not they're life-threatening. All we know is that he does have some pretty serious injuries.
Investigators are suspecting that alcohol may have played a factor in the crash. During daylight, you can see just how curvy the road is in the section of Via de Fortuna where the crash happened. Authorities say the posted speed limit is 20 miles per hour through that area, and so they'll be trying to determine if Jimenez was driving too fast. Before leaving the roadway, it also appears the driver took out at least one of the posted signs that line the street. Officers will also be examining the motorcycle to see if there are any mechanical defects that might have contributed to the fatal incident.
It's one of those new types of motorcycles that's actually three-wheeled, so it's a newer type of Harley-Davidson motorcycle. So as of this time, we really don't know the cause of the collision.
The medical examiner's office will not be releasing the victim's name until her relatives are notified. Meantime, a Scripps Hospital spokeswoman tells us that William Jimenez is listed tonight in fair condition. A Spring Valley man is recovering this evening after getting shot with a shotgun. It happened around 3 this morning on Sacramento Avenue near St. George Street. Sheriff's investigators say a woman knocked on the victim's front door, and as he opened it, two men wearing masks ran toward him. One of them had a shotgun. The victim slammed and locked the door as a shotgun round was fired through the glass. The victim suffered non-life-threatening injuries to his arm and shoulder. The 3 suspects are still on the loose tonight. And for the first time ever, the Marine Corps has created law enforcement battalions that will help investigate crimes such as terrorism and drug trafficking around the world. The military police officers from Camp Pendleton will also train security forces in allied nations. Each of the 3 battalions consists of about 500 military police officers and dozens of specially trained dogs. Well, get ready to shake, rattle, and roll. The Tony Award-winning musical Memphis is coming to San Diego Civic Theater.
And if you listen to the beat and hear what's in your soul, you'll never let anyone steal your rock and roll.
Memphis tells the story of a radio DJ in the 1950s who wants to change the world through the power of a new kind of music known as rock and roll. Tonight, we're giving away 2 pairs of tickets to opening night on July 24th at 7 p.m. All you have to do is head over to facebook.com/news8 and like our page. Then under the Memphis post, tell us why you'd like to win the tickets. We'll announce the winners on News 8 at 6:30. And good luck to you all out there.
Now, your microclimate forecast presented by Lexus Carlsbad. Here's meteorologist Sean Stiles.
Sean is joining us live tonight from Balboa Park, where I understand there is music in the air this evening. Sean.
Yeah, how appropriate you be talking about some other forms of music, and I'm going to be telling you about a free concert taking place here at the Spreckles Organ Pavilion. As you can see, the folks are starting to get into their seats. It's part of the Summer Pops from the San Diego Symphony Orchestra, and tonight this concert is free here at the Spreckles Organ Pavilion. The theme, London Olympics. We'll be hearing from composers such as John Williams, Edward Elgar, Van Williams, Handel, as well as William Walton and Gustav Holst, to name a few. Come on down here. It goes until 7 o'clock, and it sounds like they're just about ready to get things going here. We'll have some music for you coming up in just a bit, but let's jump into weather and show you how things are shaping up today. 72 downtown currently, a really great afternoon here in San Diego. 68% is the humidity. Winds are west at 7, and the barometer sitting at 29.93. Temperatures around San Diego, it is a pleasant 70 in La Jolla, 69 for the folks up in Del Mar. Out in Vista, 73. Ramona and Alpine sitting at 83 degrees, and it's still hot out in the deserts at 107 degrees. And speaking of hot, let's go to the southwest map, and it appears that Borrego is even warmer than places like Las Vegas, which is at 103. Phoenix at 99. That's because of some collapsing thunderstorms that they're under 100 degrees. And Palm Springs at 102. Folks up around San Francisco sitting at a pleasant 65-degree reading. So a pretty nice evening taking place in the Bay Area. Looking at the 3D satellite loop, we'll put this into motion for you, and you can see things stay pretty benign and quiet along the California coastline, as it is a very typical summertime weather pattern. Although over the desert southwest, we're getting that monsoonal flow coming up in over Southern California in the form of moisture in the atmosphere, but they're seeing thunderstorms over parts of the desert southwest. So places like Phoenix seeing some showers, and then as you move over towards, say, Tucson, and then on up into the Intermountain region and streaming across parts of the eastern half of Utah into Colorado, and even making its way up into Wyoming. Looking at the surf report, we continue to see fun small waves as a series of weak disturbances make their way up from the southern Pacific, but nothing of any major consequence. Waves 1 to 2 feet with some 3-foot sets, maybe an occasional bigger set if you make your way up to, say, Oceanside or down towards northern Baja California. Water temperature, though, an incredible 70, 71 degrees here in San Diego. Did some surfing this morning, and you didn't even need a full suit or a spring suit. You could have got away with just some trunks and maybe a rash guard. Looking at that 8 forecaster, we'll put it into motion and show you that marine layer does start to creep back in to our forecast here in San Diego, and we will continue to stay in the overcast setup throughout the evening on into the early morning hours, and then that'll burn off rather quickly for you folks in the inland valleys, and therefore temperatures will start to warm up rather quickly. And then along the coastline, it'll take a little bit longer, much like today, and then we'll see some clearing in the afternoon for the folks at the beaches where your temperatures were in the low 70s. So looking pretty good here in San Diego. A chance of some thunderstorms coming into our forecast. I'll tell you who's going to see those coming up tomorrow and on into Tuesday. We'll send it back to you, Phil.
Yep, and a chance for some great music, Sean, in just a couple of moments. Can't wait for you to bring it to us.
All right.
We'll see you then. Well, still ahead tonight, the demolition of a former landmark hotel in New Orleans, plus how wildlife officials were able to capture a bear cub that somehow found its way into a shopping mall department store, and reaction from fans of the larger-than-life statue of Joe Paterno is removed from Penn State. Please stay with us. A New Orleans eyesore is now just a big pile of rubble. A former Grand Palace Hotel came crashing down in a planned implosion this morning. People living nearby were evacuated, and an interstate had to be shut down for the big blast. The hotel was originally built in 1950 and was the city's largest apartment complex at the time. A new $1 billion medical center is going up in its place. Penn State officials have removed the iconic statue of late head football coach Joe Paterno in the wake of the Jerry Sandusky sex abuse scandal. Workers lifted the 7-foot-tall statue off its base and used a forklift to move it temporarily into the football stadium. Penn State students and supporters are heartbroken and furious about the decision.
This is a travesty to think that this guy has done all this stuff. It's more than football. It's more than football. This is a representation, and this is just terrible.
It's a shame. I don't know about being a trustee anymore, and I'm just saddened today.
The monument was built in 2001 in honor of Joe Paterno's 324th Division I victory, as well as his contributions to the university. Human rights groups are demanding change from the International Olympic Committee. Protesters gathered outside IOC officials' hotel in London today, calling for a ban on countries that discriminate against athletes based on gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and religious beliefs. They say countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran should be banned for forcing female athletes to be accompanied by male guardians and wear restrictive clothing. Scary moments for shoppers at a mall in Pennsylvania after a bear cub was spotted roaming around inside. The 120-pound black bear somehow got inside Sears. Store employees were able to help customers get out safely. Wildlife conservation officers trapped the bear between the store's double doors and shot it with a tranquilizer gun. But before the drugs could set in, the cub got back into the store and eventually fell asleep and was taken away. It's time to announce this week's KFMB Mojo Awards, the category Cosmetic and Plastic Surgery. Here are some of the businesses with the most positive website reviews: La Jolla Cosmetic Surgery Center, Advanced Dermatology and Cosmetic Surgery Changes, Plastic Surgery and Spa, Oasis MD, and Marin Aesthetics were among the top businesses based on reviews by you, the viewer. Now, this week's category is veterinarian. So if you have a favorite, go to KFMBMojoAwards.com and cast your vote. Be sure to check out Mojo Pages. It's a website that does all the work for you. They read through hundreds of reviews from across the internet and then calculate each business's mojo to find the absolute very best. Well, coming up, our coverage of the movie theater massacre in Colorado continues tonight.
I'm Marcella Lee, live in Aurora, Colorado, where a vigil is about to get underway. We're also learning more about one of the victims who trained in Coronado. I'll be back with a live report next.
News 8, presented in HD, is brought to you by More Furniture for Less. You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader, Marcella Lee, Phil Blauer, meteorologist John Stiles, and sports with John Howard. This is News 8 at 5.
Welcome back. A search for answers tonight as the community of Aurora tries to pick up the pieces in the wake of the movie theater massacre. Aurora Mayor Steve Hogan and Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper appeared on ABC's This Week today and talk about how no one had any idea the suspect would do something like this.
He just, by every standard, appeared normal. Clearly, there's something wrong here.
Did he have friends? Did he make connections? Had he put down...
Went on to say that shooting suspect James Holmes was taking classes at the University of Colorado Medical Center and seemed to be having a rather normal social life. My co-anchor Marcella Lee has been following the story all day long from Aurora. She joins us there now with a look at the growing memorial outside the movie theater where this tragedy took place. Marcella, good evening.
Phil, there are many vigils and memorials taking place here in Aurora. The theater is behind me, and it is still closed off to the public because it is still an active crime scene. And so there is a makeshift memorial right across the street from here, and it has really become a place where people can gather to grieve and to heal. I've seen people there at all hours of the day, pretty much around the clock, even in the middle of the night.
Oh, Father, we come before you in this midnight hour.
They come to pray and mourn at all hours of the day and night.
We cry out to you in the dark.
Some gather around this temporary cross. Others stand before this growing tribute of candles, photos, and flowers. It's become a spot where those who grieve know they can come for comfort.
This helps a lot, you know what I'm saying? Real helps a lot that the community will come out here and, you know, it's touching.
Yashira Ramirez and Sierra Subiono tell me they still can't believe their friend, AJ Boyk, who just graduated from high school, is gone.
He would do whatever to make you laugh.
So funny.
Yeah.
Just to be the class clown.
Real kind-hearted.
I mean, funny. Just look at his pictures.
I mean, look at his face right here. He's hilarious.
Today, 12 new crosses were put up on the hill above the makeshift memorial to represent each life lost. It will take a long while for this community to heal.
It's just sad because they're
You know, they had mothers. I'm a mother. They were somebody's children, somebody's brother, somebody's friend, you know, so it's just sad.
The stages of grief evident in their faces and words.
Somebody came to our hometown, and somebody... How could people have so much hate in their hearts?
Some not able to hide the anger and disgust they feel for the accused shooter, 24-year-old James Holmes.
Lethal injection ain't good enough. To do that to my friends, to run in here, to blindside a bunch of people that are just coming in here to relax, to go to the movies, you deserve the worst. This is the worst.
You could just feel the raw emotion and the raw pain. Some people very angry, other people saying that they forgive him and his family. So just a wide span of emotions. Meantime, the military community is really suffering from this shooting. We have learned that one of the victims trained at Coronado and had dreams of becoming a Navy SEAL. 26-year-old Jonathan Blanc served 3 tours in the Persian Gulf and the North Arabian Sea. He died in the shooting on Friday after throwing himself over a female friend and taking a bullet to save her life. 2 other military members based out of the local Buckley Air Force Base were also killed, and tonight they too are being remembered. A group of 5 sailors went to see the Batman movie together at this theater. Petty Officer 3rd Class John Larimer was killed. He was 27 years old. The cryptologist joined the Navy a year ago and was a rising star.
He truly did have a bright future ahead of him in the Navy. This was his first Navy command, and he was accelerating in all aspects.
Air Force Staff Sergeant Jesse Childress was also killed. He was here with a group of friends as well. The 29-year-old was a reservist and cyber systems operator.
Jesse was an invaluable part of the 310th family. He literally touched everyone in the wing, over 1,000 people.
Both men are being remembered by their military family.
I've got a command of 300, and I have the same approach. So losing a sailor, whether it's in combat or whether it's in a horrific domestic situation like this, it's hard, it's tough. You know, we're not bulletproof. We're working through this together as a command leadership team, and you know, I feel like I lost one of my sons.
A lot of heavy hearts, of course, across Aurora, across Colorado, and across the nation. Coming up new for you tonight at 6:30, Phil, I went back to my old stomping grounds, my old station where I worked for 3 years. I lived here back in the 1990s, and I talked to a former coworker of mine. She covered both the Columbine shooting as well as this shooting. She was here Friday, and she shared some profound thoughts. She's a mother of teenagers, and she says her kids could have easily been here. This could have been any parent's nightmare, and she shares some profound thoughts. We'll have that for you coming up new at 6:30.
Kind of deja vu for her all over again, having to go through something as mind-boggling as this, Marcella.
She said she felt sick to her stomach when she got the phone call because she thought, how could something like this happen again? And just being there and feeling the emotions of people searching for their loved ones was just, you know, really too much to bear.
All right, thank you for that. And of course, we're waiting for President Obama to speak to the nation about the tragedy there. So we'll see you again at the end of the program.
All right, Phil, see you then.
Coming up, you can't help but think brotherly love when you see these 2 boys together. In tonight's Adopt 8, we're going to introduce you to brothers Marco and Alex, who are holding out hope they'll soon be part of a forever family. Please stay with us.
And it looks like the symphony has just played their first song here at the Spreckles Organ Pavilion. I'm meteorologist Sean Stiles. We'll be bringing you those sounds and your weather coming up here on News 8.
Now, your microclimate forecast presented by Lexus Carlsbad. Here's meteorologist Sean Stiles.
Little music in the park tonight in Balboa Park. Sean Stiles is there to do a little double duty, listen to the nice sounds of the symphony, and bring us the weather forecast, Sean.
Yeah, Phil, I'm going to step out of the way here and just talk a little bit softly, kind of that golf voice, so you guys can hear the symphony in the background. It's part of their free concert, and it goes till 7 o'clock tonight. So if you're watching us and decide you want to come on down here, we're at the Spreckles Organ Pavilion, and this is part of the San Diego Symphony Summer Pop Series, and this one is free to the public, so come on down and enjoy it. Let's take a look at the time lapse, and this is from our downtown Skycam looking up the channel, and you can see that there's some activity out there. In fact, a pretty big cargo ship making its way out towards the opening of the harbor and out to sea, probably empty as it came into our port to drop some stuff off. Downtown right now, it is 72 degrees, your humidity at 68%. westerly winds in the barometer sitting at 29.93 and steady. As we look at temperatures around San Diego today, folks up in Oceanside, you were up to 68, 83 in Escondido. Julian, kind of hot at 91. And speaking of hot, Borrego at 109, 77 in Otay. Chula Vista 76. And downtown San Diego, right on where we should be. The average for this time of year, 74, and that is what downtown San Diego made it up to. As we look across the nation temperature-wise, you can see there's plenty of heat in the midsection. Places like Dallas at 98, Chicago in the 80s, as well as Miami. As we take a look at the satellite loop, we'll put this into motion for you. And yeah, there is high pressure situated over the central part of the nation, and that is kind of blocking out any rain that we would see in that part of the country. That actually is a big problem for farmers because we've got a problem with our corn crop and our soybean crop. So if you like eating edamames at your favorite sushi restaurant, those might be going up in price. And the cost of wheat sounds like it'll be going up. So for those futures buyers in the commodity market, they might be picking up some futures there. As we make our way out west, the activity is mainly thunderstorms coming up from Mexico, wrapping around the western edge of that high pressure, and that high pressure is grabbing the moisture over northern Mexico and pumping it up into parts of New Mexico, Arizona, eastern Utah and Colorado, and all the way up into parts of Wyoming. So we're seeing those thunderstorms pop up, and some of that might make its way into our mountains and deserts over the next 24 to 48 hours. So keep that in mind. It doesn't look like it'll be spilling out into the coastal or inland areas. As far as our 8-day outlook is concerned, we actually will kind of level off temperature-wise and cool down just a little bit here in San Diego. But for the most part, we're in that summertime weather pattern with mostly sunny skies from the coast to the inland valleys, and it looks like for you folks in the inland valleys, it'll be obviously warmer than along the coastline, but not all that hot. I mean, not that scorching July heat, as we like to call it, the July fry. And as you come back to us live here on stage right now, conducting is the conductor for the Pops, Matthew Garvin, and they will be playing until about 7 o'clock tonight. So pretty nice thing to come down to Balboa Park, one of San Diego's jewels, and get a free concert from the Pops. We'll send it back to you, Phil.
All right, Sean, thanks a lot. Big crowd out there, too. That's great to see.
You betcha.
All right, we'll see you later on. It's been bittersweet for brothers Marco and Alex to see their two younger siblings adopted. As hard as the county tries, they can't always keep the siblings together. In tonight's Adopt 8, our Marcella Lee tells us, though the boys are very happy for their siblings, they, too, would like to have a forever family.
Tackle me, come on. Come on, go, go, go.
In their friendly game of tackle,
Again. Okay, stay right there, right there.
I couldn't help but notice how 9-year-old Marco made sure he always went down first, cushioning the fall for his 6-year-old brother Alex.
What do you like best about your brother?
He's good.
A good big brother who steps in to help with the types of things a parent normally does.
All right, we understand that President Obama is speaking right now at Buckley Air Force Base in Aurora, Colorado. Let's go to that now.
All the state, local, and federal officials who have responded magnificently to this tragedy. Governor Hickenlooper, who has already been dealing with a range of natural disasters here in the state, has been an extraordinary example of strength. The mayor, who has only been on the job 7 months and obviously has responded with great strength and leadership. The police chief, who, you know, we had an opportunity to speak over the phone. Chief Oates has been dealing with as difficult a set of circumstances as any law enforcement officer deals with. And he and his officers have done everything right, by the book, with great courage and great determination. And so we are very proud of them, and I think I speak for the entire congressional delegation who is here as well. You know, Scripture, he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. And when you have an opportunity to visit with families who have lost their loved ones, as I describe to them, I come to them not so much as president as I do as a father and as a husband. And I think that the reason stories like this have such an impact on us is because we can all understand what it would be to have somebody that we love taken from us in this fashion, what it would be like and how it would impact us. I had a chance to visit with each family, and most of the conversation was filled with memory. It was an opportunity for families to describe how wonderful their brother or their son or daughter was, and the lives that they had touched, and the dreams that they held for the future. I confessed to them that words are always inadequate in these kinds of situations, but that my main task was to serve as a representative of the entire country and let them know that we are thinking about them at this moment and will continue to think about them each and every day, and that the awareness that not only all of America but much of the world is thinking about them might serve as some comfort. I also tried to assure them that although the perpetrator of this evil act has received a lot of attention over the last couple of days, that attention will fade away. And in the end, after he has felt the full force of our justice system, what will be remembered are the good people who were impacted by this tragedy. And I also had a chance to give folks some hugs and to shed some tears, but also to share some laughs as they remembered the wonderful lives that these men and women represented. I also had a chance, fortunately, to visit some folks who are going to be okay, thanks to the extraordinary efforts of the staff at this hospital. And I just want to thank everybody who's worked tirelessly here to deal with this tragedy. Some of the stories are remarkable. You see young people who've come in and just 2 days ago or 36 hours ago or even 24 hours ago, it wasn't certain whether they'd make it. And now suddenly their eyes are open, they're alert, and they're talking. And it reminds you that even in the darkest of days, life continues, and people are strong, and people bounce back, and people are resilient. And particularly given the fact that so many of the victims were young, it is a great blessing to see how rapidly they're able to recover from some pretty devastating injuries. There's one particular story I want to tell because this was the last visit that I had. And I think it's representative of everything that I saw and heard today. I had a chance just now, about 5 minutes ago, to visit with Allie Young. Allie is 19 years old. And I also had a chance to visit with Allie's best friend, Stephanie Davies, who's 21. Stephanie was actually downstairs with Allie, as well as Allie's parents, when I walked into the room. And I don't think this story has been heard. At least I hadn't read it yet, but I wanted to share it with you. When the gunman initially came in and threw the canisters, he threw them only a few feet away from Allie and Stephanie, who were sitting there watching the film. Allie stood up, seeing that she might need to do something or at least warn the other people who were there, and she was immediately shot. and she was shot in the neck, and it punctured a vein, and immediately she started spurting blood. And apparently, as she dropped down on the floor, Stephanie, 21 years old, had the presence of mind to drop down on the ground with her, pull her out of the aisle, place her fingers over where Allie had been wounded, and applied pressure the entire time while the gunman was still shooting. Allie told Stephanie she needed to run. Stephanie refused to go. Instead, actually, with her other hand, called 911 on her cell phone. Once the SWAT team came in, they were still trying to clear the theater. Stephanie then, with the help of several others, carries Allie across 2 parking lots to where the ambulance is waiting. And because of Stephanie's timely actions, I just had a conversation with Allie downstairs, and she is going to be fine. I don't know how many people at any age would have the presence of mind that Stephanie did, or the courage that Allie showed. And so, as tragic as the circumstances of what we've seen today are, as heartbreaking as it is for the families, it's worth us spending most of our time reflecting on young Americans like Allie and Stephanie, because they represent what's best in us, and they assure us that out of this darkness a brighter day is going to come. To the entire community of Aurora, the country is thinking of you. I know that there's going to be a vigil and an opportunity for everybody to come together, and I hope that all those who are in attendance understand that the entire country will be there in prayer and reflection today. So thank you. God bless you. God bless all who helped to respond to this tragedy, and I hope that over the next several days, next several weeks, and next several months, we all reflect on how we can do something about some of the senseless violence that ends up marring this country, but also reflect on all the wonderful people who make this the greatest country on earth. Thank you very much, everybody.
That's the President Barack Obama speaking at Buckley Air Force Base. He's there with local politicians, also law enforcement officers, and again recapping having visited with some of the victims' loved ones, those who lost their lives in this tragedy, also speaking with some of those who survived and telling a very touching story about 2 best friends and how they were able to come out of that situation both alive. We'll be right back. All right, let's go to my colleague Marcella Lee, who's in Aurora for us right now. Marcella?
The president just wrapped up his statements to the nation. He talked to the victims, the ones who have lost, and the families, the ones who have lost people in this massacre. And he said most of his time was spent talking to those parents and family members about memories, lives touched, the memories and what their children wanted to be, their hopes and their dreams. Coming up for you tonight at 6:30, we'll have more on what the president said, and we'll also talk to a local reporter who I used to work with who covered both the Columbine shooting and this shooting. We'll see you then.